Well, a controversial new rap song mocking President Biden has hit the top of the iTunes charts. We referenced it very quickly before the song sort of became the main story. It booted Adele from the #1 spot, according to the New York Post. It's called Let's Go Brandon. And we talked about it a little bit. Now, just before I play some of it for you, if you're not familiar with what that is. So this Northern Carolina-born musician composed this song earlier this month in response to NBC's coverage of a NASCAR race in Alabama. It was on October 2nd. During the event, crowds were heard chanting, "Fuck Joe Biden," but an NBC anchor insisted they were saying, "Let's go Brandon," in reference to a win by Brandon Brown. And this dude...
Can I say this,
yes.
speaking of Brown, and you can look for this for later.
I know where this is going.
But Bubba Wallace...
Oh, yeah.
He won his first... It was the first black NASCAR driver to win a sanctioned NASCAR event, or I'll screw it up somehow. But basically, black guy wins all-white guy sport for the first time. Except for he won during a rain delay. So when they go, here's footage of the first black driver, you know, NASCAR's been around for 70 years, the first African-American to ever take the checkered flag. It's a picture of him sitting down and somebody informing him that we'll scrap the race. And since you were in first during the rain delay, you are de facto the winner. Like, it was sort of like, it was almost like when... Evander Holyfield knocked the guy out in the Olympics like a millisecond after the bell rang. And yeah, they're like, "You're disqualified. When you come to, we're going to give you the silver." Like, it's so... I mean, you because it's posterity and it's going to go up in the museum and whatever. You want the footage of the guy, you know, just pulling it out the last second, you know, bump drafting the racist in front of him and then just beating him by bumper. It's him sitting on a bench in the pit without his helmet on or anything, going, "All right, it's going to keep raining, so we're going to call it."
Yeah,
I guess you win.
It's sort of like they should get like a Pete Best award. Like, yeah, you did it, but not really.
Well, you did everything it took to win the race.
You just didn't get the
we just
good
don't
part.
have.
Doesn't feel historical.
You didn't get the checker. There's no footage of the checkered flag.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right. Ugh.
Well, this is...
he won Talladega, right? Which is... Was that Talladega?
Yeah, it was
Talladega.
Right.
If you can find that footage, it's kind of
we're
funny.
loading it up.
Here's a cut from the song performed by Bryson Gray, a person of color, I believe.
Looks like it, kind
He's
of.
rapping.
And
That's true.
And here's leading into the hook.
This is about control. Everybody knows. Everyone complies. We're the kinds of pros. I don't need a plane. I just hit the road. I do what I want. I can't sell my soul. Market about to crash. This is what you chose. Ruining the country. I've been best to go. You gon' take the mark. I take narrow roads. I'm a man of God. I can never fold. Let's go, Brandon. I keep the drum like I'm Nick Cannon. Hey, hey, let's go, Brandon. Pandemic ain't real. They just planted. Hey, hey, let's go, Brandon. When you ask questions, they start banning. Hey, hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey, hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey.
Well, I can see how this stuff gets to #1 in this particular time we're living in, because she says it on ESPN or ABC or whatever, then somebody gets it, and then they start tweeting it, and next thing you know. I still can't figure out the Rod Stewart had his stomach pumped because he had 2 gallons of semen in it. Like, how did that work pre-Twitter?
Right. How did it go
How do we
viral?
all know that? How'd that get to
really true.
That got to #1.
But it's one of those things, like, we all woke up knowing it.
Yeah.
It was like 1979. Suddenly everybody knew.
You could have... Like, it's weird because once you get into a writer's room in L.A., it's a bunch of guys, but this guy's from Pittsburgh, and that guy's from Maine, and that guy's from Florida, and that guy's from Cleveland. And you go, you guys all know the Rod Stewart comes from. Like, absolutely.
Oh, what do you mean when he got his stomach pumped?
Do you know what the 100th monkey syndrome is? The 100th monkey syndrome is this thing in nature, and it's true that, like, animals will figure out the same thing at the same time. Like a monkey in Madagascar and a monkey in Northern Africa will both figure out you can crack open a coconut with a rock at about the same time. And it might have been one of those things where just then everybody knew that Rod Seaman. Rod Stewart,
one of the gayest storytellers.
Yeah. Richard Gere and the
every 100th gerbil knew that
right. And I like that he's never really commented on it. Like, he must know about it. Like, got to be famous for something.
I never know if those people never know like somebody, so it's interesting. I don't know if they don't know. Well, circling back
Right.
to Let's Go Brandon, somebody asked somebody at the White House, like, hey, what do you think about this Let's Go Brandon stuff? And they're like, I've never heard of it.
Right.
Now, I don't know if they've never heard of it or it's just better when someone
Ignore
said
it.
your stomach with pump with semen. Just go, I don't know. But maybe he never went to junior high.
In America.
Yeah, in
true.
America. We have the Bubba footage. He's sitting under a tarp on a folding chair. It's pouring rain. They're celebrating by throwing water, but it's a downpour.
A little weird.
It's sponsored by McDonald's.
It's not the... It's going to look weird in the Smithsonian or in the NASCAR Hall of Fame or
Playing
whatever,
solitaire, waiting.
whatever it is. You
It's
just
not the,
you want the race footage in there.
They're all wearing the golden arches. The
yeah.
whole thing just has a lower rent feel to it.
Also, I think another thing about the Let's Go Brandon is there's nothing Twitter loves more than to feel like they're in on an inside joke. You know, like a big difference I found between Facebook and Twitter is if somebody has a hot take on something going on in the media, Facebook, they want to give you the backstory. They want to give you links and have you educated. Twitter just like says one thing and then you're like, wait, is that a thing that's happening? I have to Google it myself. So I think the fact that it's like an inside joke is fun for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean anything. Caitlyn Jenner has thrown her support behind comedian Dave Chapelle as he continues to face a little backlash.
Support hose, that is. Am I right? Support hose.
Dave must be delighted.
She tweeted about it, speaking of which. Dave Chapelle, she says, is 100% right. This isn't about the LGBTQ movement. It's about woke cancel culture run amok, trying to silence free speech. We must never yield or bow to those who wish to stop us from speaking our minds.
Caitlyn is... I would say what makes her interesting is being a he and now being a her. I think if you just sort of spoke to her, you wouldn't be enthralled.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
One of
nice,
the minds of our greatest.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know, not got some takes and stuff, but not. It's kind of.
It's like a deer in the forest versus a deer in your lawn.
Yeah.
It's on the lawn. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this. I've had this funny moment once, which I was walking up through the Hollywood Hills and I spotted a family of deer on somebody's lawn.
Majestic.
And I like stopped. I was like, oh, we have to be quiet. You know, you'll spook them. They'll take off, you know. And I sat there and I like watch. And it's like that whole thing where like as soon as you see them, you're on the clock because they always spot you and they take off. But after like 15 minutes, they weren't going anywhere. And I was like, do I leave? I've never left first on a deer. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm now getting bored of staring at this deer's ass, and they're clearly not going anywhere.
They're not afraid of people.
That's what the real one is coyotes, because coyotes have like a yeah what.
Right.
They're not spooked at all.
Right.
When's your garbage day? I'm stopping.
Yeah,
by for the rest.
raccoons are that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Too.
Garbage pandas.
Yes, garbage pandas.
Yeah.
Trash cats. This is there's tons of COVID stories that come out every day, but this is something that a lot of people could possibly already be taking should get a heads up on. A cheap, generically available antidepressant may reduce the risk of severe COVID symptoms by close to a third in people at high risk. This was just reported Wednesday. A trial among about 1,500 patients in Brazil showed that those who took the drug known as Fluvoxamine, aka Luvox, which is the brand name, were less likely to progress to the severity of the disease and to require hospitalization.
Luvox sounds like one of the guys Fox would interview who was a longshoreman who was explaining about the supply chain and about how Biden fucked everything up.
The problem is the trucks are all jacked up in Queens.
But Lou, I guess you got a lot of container ships out in the harbor.
The container ships are all jacked up. They're waiting to come in the harbor, but the trucks are blocked up, so we'd have nowhere to unload them.
You can unload them, but they can't go on. You don't have enough trucks.
And Lord knows, a lot of these containers have sex workers in them, and they're just sitting there.
Lou, you've been a longshoreman for how many years
I've been
now?
longshoreman for 44 years now. I'm 47 years old, which tells you I'm a hard worker.
Right, and so you don't blame the Biden administration for this, though, do you?
I'm going to tell you one thing about Joe Biden. I don't want to cause any problem, but, I had a collie. I love that dog. I had this beautiful, her name was Queenie. And had that dog for 17 years. Biden gets elected. 2 days later, she dies.
Wow. Wow. Let's go, Brandon, huh? Am I right, Lou? Luvox.
That was you're talking about antidepressants. It's interesting. My dog, Alfie, who, as I've said, has a look in his eyes that you only get from a guy in an army jacket sitting alone on a swing set in the rain. Who's so neurotic, and finally I thought that maybe there was something physically wrong with him and that he couldn't communicate. So I took him to the vet, and they did the whole thing, and no, there's nothing wrong with him, and they said maybe he should be on doggy Prozac. And I felt like an idiot.
It's a thing.
Getting doggy Prozac.
I know a lot of dogs are.
We put him on it.
Yeah.
And then I felt like a bigger idiot a week later because I'm like, yeah, he's taking the medication, but now he can't get an erection.
Right.
You got to give.
He wants to be a good dog.
Who's going to make sweet love to that beanbag?
Well, just to put a bow on this, the woman who is the head researcher of this says the fluvoxamine may reduce the production of inflammatory molecules called cytokines, which Dr. Drew talked about way at the beginning of this, that can be triggered by the COVID infection. The drug may also reduce blood platelets, which may affect the clotting effects of the infection. And I wonder if there's a tie-in, because remember yesterday, the day before, we talked about they found a small, like 3, group of teens that had more psychosis after COVID. So I wonder if there's a tie-in with antidepressants and the inflammation.
Speaking of this, God, I hope they don't make a version of this for horses. Joe Rogan says he took
Sad horsey pills.
Had horse pills.
George Rogan took horse Prozac, and now he no longer runs blindly when there's lightning.
Yeah, we take his thunder vest off.
That's right.
Blinders on him.
Well, let's talk a little Halloween, as I think this might be our last chance. So let's do it. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Obviously, we've all seen the orange pumpkins because that's the color they traditionally come in. But there are so many more colors of pumpkins that you put out so the neighborhood knows what to look for if you're into something specific. Good housekeeping.
Like the bandana in the back part.
Right.
Exactly.
Good housekeeping made this list of pumpkins you should be on the lookout for. So here's a little homework for you when you go trick-or-treating. The teal pumpkin, I think we've seen that one. This is on display for families that have alternative treats for kids who can't have candy. Purple pumpkins creates awareness of epilepsy and those living with it. Pink pumpkins creates awareness for early detection of breast cancer and the continued search for a cure. Blue pumpkins chosen to represent autism awareness. White pumpkins show support of those who have suffered a pregnancy or infant loss.
What?
Red pumpkins warns people of the dangers of drunk driving. And yellow pumpkins are show that you're an advocate for the disabled.
So you have to carry
So if
a
you have a
laminate.
regular pumpkin, you hate all those groups.
Right.
No, if it's orange pumpkin, kick down the door and make load of their wife.
You're anti.
It was just plain orange.
Yes.
But so you're going to have to, people are going to have to carry a laminate around in their werewolf
key.
outfit to what are we dealing
epilepsy.
here?
But it was one thing I love about Halloween that I've noticed is when they put up, when you go into like CVS or Target, they get the decorations up early, and they always have the 3 big monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, and older woman.
Oh, that's right.
No, isn't she horrifying?
I know.
It doesn't even have a witch hat half the time. No.
She's aged.
Older woman. She didn't die in her 20s. The audacity.
And it's like, does she pose a threat? Like, well, when she tries to get out of the bathtub without assistance,
Yeah.
that'll take her down.
Yeah.
Like, it is true. It's just old woman.
Yes.
It's how horrifying.
The
Scare
pumpkins,
children.
I've always thought about this with gourds. I haven't talked about it in a long time. But first off, you can genetically engineer the purple and the magenta one and the orange
bumpy
one and
ones.
the red one and the white one and the bumpy ones. But also, I've said this many times, and maybe only rivaled by the shark community. There are gourds that are the size of golf balls.
Yeah.
And then there's gourds that weigh 1,700 pounds. And it is the exact same thing.
Oh, wow.
Which
That's
you
true.
don't see. Like, you'll see small sharks and then like whale sharks, but they're not really, they don't necessarily look the same. But that's that's
like a
big or
sand shark
small,
and a
but-
whale shark are genetically the same thing. Yeah.
But there is no such thing as an orange that's the size of a grape and then one that's 2,000 pounds.
True.
Like they get
Like a
those
range.
things from the little mini ones that they put at the table arrangements. They look exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
like someone hit them with a radiation and just like shrunk them down. And then there's the world. I don't know what the record is, Max Zapata, but I mean, it is over 1,800 pounds.
Yeah, the one that
Like,
went Festival
Right.
State Fair.
Or all the B-roll on the news lately, which is like, we gave these giant pumpkins to the elephants to play with, and they
Right.
smash them. Yeah.
I've always thought that the jack-o'-lantern, tradition is the perfect analogy to marriage. Is that you search and you search and you search for the perfect one, and then as soon as you get it home, you take out its guts and start changing it.
And then eventually
Well
some
done.
teenage kids from the neighborhood
Smash
stomp
it.
on it.
Smash
No,
its
you
spirit.
were perfect. That's why I got you. Now let me just hack off your head, pull your guts out, cut some eyes, and no, I'm gonna get you to where I
Put
really
this
want.
candle up your ass at night so I can find you.
Now now that you're here, I'm gonna make you what I really want you to be.
The weird, I was thinking about, I'm a guy, I got sawzalls, I got jigsaws, I got circular saws, I got high point saws, I got band saws, I got table saws, I got
Bubba Gump over here.
compound sliding miter saws. Like I have hacksaws, bayonet saws, coping saws. I have every goddamn saw. And now when someone gets a pumpkin, you get the little kit.
Yep.
And the
I
kid
have
has
two of
that
them.
thin little serrated blade,
Like a
which
little nail
makes it
file.
so easy to follow the line. But for 80 years before that, you just got a sort of dull butter knife
Yeah,
or steak
yeah.
knife, and you just be at home like
Yeah.
stabbing and like hacking. Come on, turn the knife. You broke the handle off. You know, it's
And
like
the little serrated things that they give you bend instantly. It's a nightmare.
I couldn't pull it off. Like, and I don't know where you guys are at, but if you're gonna get a pumpkin, take out a couple of colored Sharpies and draw a fucking face on it and put it out. Keep that shit in the house.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you drawing eyeballs. Then don't do it. That
Yeah.
is not decorating a pumpkin. You taking a Sharpie to it and putting a mustache on a pumpkin.
you gotta do the work.
You do the fucking work.
We had
Because
two
the-
jack-o'-lanterns
because
and
of
two
the
painted
smell.
ones.
That's
Yes.
right.
There's certain smells that just smell like Halloween, smell like childhood. You pull a pumpkin out, the smell of the candle in the
guts.
pumpkin, and the one that here's what. Get ready, I'm going to blow your ass through your face.
Please.
Remember the orange wax harmonicas?
With the juice in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had weird syrupy,
Sugar
sugary,
syrup.
they had
Oh, yeah.
a wax harmonica.
You smell that?
I feel
Yeah.
like that phased out during my childhood because I
Yeah, it
remember
did,
those,
yeah.
but not like past like 1985.
I bet if we handed John Popper one of the wax ones with the syrup, he could
Play
still
the shit
play
out of it,
better than Bob Dylan. I still think he could.
He could knock out the opening to Roadhouse Blues.
That's right. Yes, Dan, I haven't thought of that weird thing in a cajillion years.
It had,
Why
like,
did it have juice
and then
in
it had
it?
smell in it. Oh,
not?
so great.
It had like some sort of like high
Syrup
fructose
or-
corn syrup inside.
Which is like there are certain things that evoke Halloween. The opening, the Great Pumpkin Waltz from the Great Pumpkin.
Yeah, from Charlie Brown.
Dun, dun. But that cartoon, I don't know when was the last time you watched it, is an orgy of child cruelty.
Yeah, it's
Every
tough.
parent in the neighborhood ganged up. The brown kid, no candy, rocks.
Right.
No,
Charlie
it's
Brown
too
got
sad.
a rock.
It's too sad. The thing that is 100% Halloween, I watch it every year. I love it so much. Wait for Halloween is the three Huey, Dewey, and Louie with the you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
The witch and Donald Duck. That's the,
Paul,
best.
and the Paul Lynde Halloween special, which you can see on YouTube from 1978,
Wow.
it's like the late 70s TV rolled. It's Paul Lynde and Kiss. Right. And
back
he has
in.
the joke. It's one of these things that scream at the television, I bet I know how your band formed. You had an argument and then someone said, let's kiss and make up. And I'm just like, that's not a joke. That's like, I can't put flour in a bowl, crack an egg in it, and call it a cake.
Right.
This has the ingredients of a joke.
Parts of a joke.
It's not made into a joke.
Chris, heaviest pumpkin of all time.
2,703 pounds this month.
Jesus.
Wow.
This month.
Wow.
Look at that ugly thing.
That is, now we're getting into...
It looks like that Samoan guy that sings Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Is.
He'll be missed.
Brother is.
Brother.
That's right.
Chris said
You
he
do that
died.
without blinking.
I know it is.
Chris said he died. Chris said he died in 2027.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. This is crazy. It is now we're getting into mid-size sedan weight at this point, and a gourd, the mini gourds, 3.5 ounces.
Yeah.
That is range. That is gourd range. All right. I wish cantaloupe would make a move.
Sweet, sweet cantaloupe.
They've been sitting at 19 ounces my entire life.
Does not come to play.
I could use one. Like, here's your cantaloupe for the year. Use it wisely.
Freeze what you don't eat.
Help mom roll it out of the car.
Nope.
All right,
care.
let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
I like to call it making mischief.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, last but not least, there's Trico. Over a century ago, Trico was the first to make wiper blades. They've been one step ahead of Mother Nature ever since. Trico engineers study your specific driving conditions to make sure you're ready for anything. It's been hot out here. It's been raining out here. Thank God I got the Tricos on the family trucks. Their weather doesn't matter what the weather is. Trico wipers maintain maximum windshield contact, and no matter what your driving habits, you'll always find the right wiper blade for your vehicle. They've been going at it since 1917. I did not even know cars had wiper blades back then, but Trico was on the scene. Probably different guys, working on these than back in 1917. The future wipers, well, that's Trico. And to find a store near you and see the latest offers, visit TricoCatsAndDogs.com. That is TricoCatsAndDogs.com. Dana Gould's got a very good film out called Joyride with our friend Bobcat in it, and it is out and on demand in theaters and on demand.
Yeah, go to iTunes.
Go to iTunes. Then also, there's the website, DanaGould.com, because it's got live dates coming up. San Francisco, the Punchline, November 18th through the 20th.
Yep.
The podcast, the Dana Gould Hour. Just go to his website and find out everything, Dana Gould, at DanaGould.com. I'm going to be in Baltimore, which I think is almost sold out, but Philadelphia, Keswick Theater, November 7th. Some tickets left to that. Portland coming up, Helium, December 22nd, 23rd. Go to AdamCarolla.com for that. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Dana Gould and Huell Hauser and Gina Grad and Paul Bryan. Say it. Mahalo.
Older woman.
Oh, that's right.
No, isn't she horrifying?
I know.
It doesn't even have a witch hat half the time. No.
She's aged.
Older woman. She didn't die in her 20s. The audacity.